Boxing Truth here. Here are some mixed thoughts about Jarrell Big Baby's performance last night on his HBO debut fighting Marius Wack. I'm hearing he's food in the heavyweight division. He's trash. There's some people that think he's a worthy contender. So let me give you my thoughts about Jarrell Big Baby Miller. Well, from my title, as you can see, I actually think Jarrell Miller is a bigger threat to Anthony Joshua than Deontay Wilder is. Now let me explain. Jarrell Miller, he's had 21 fights. He's not the most flashiest guy. He doesn't have anything special. He doesn't have great speed. Doesn't have one-punch knockout power. He's not the fastest heavyweight, not the most skilled heavyweight. He gets hit with some shots. It's boxing. You're going to get hit. But what I do like about Miller is that he's besides being a big motherfucker, guy is huge for the division. Comes in at low 280s, high 290s in his most recent fights. He's got good size for the division, 6'4". He's got a great gas tank. He's got a great chin from what I've seen in his fights. He's a tank, puts pressure, wears you down with relentless aggression and punch value. He's very aware of what punches come at him, which is why he has a good chin. It's hard to catch him with something he doesn't see coming because he has good eyes. So, this is why Miller, because of his size, his chin, his gas tank, his punch value, I actually think he's a bigger threat to Anthony Joshua than Deontay Wilder is. Wilder is a much smaller heavyweight. His punch output is not as high. He is not as strong compared to Miller, not as strong compared to Joshua. Joshua is physically stronger than Wilder. And he doesn't have the best chin either. Doesn't have the best whiskers. You catch Wilder with a shot, he's going night-night, which is why he's so protected. But Miller, I've seen him take some shots. I've seen him get hit with punches. He got hit with some shots against Wack. And Wack's a big, strong guy who's very experienced. Only been stopped by Povetkin. Went the distance with Vladimir. He's got a solid, decent, experienced record. Was a top 5 rated contender in some sanctioning bodies in the heavyweight division. So, you know, Wack was a real opponent for Miller. And Miller, he passed the test. He passed his first stern test as a heavyweight. His level of opposition has been going up ever since the Donovan Dennis fight, which is the first time I ever saw him fight. And it's going to be interesting if Eddie Hearn actually allows Miller to fight Joshua, because the one thing intriguing about that fight, Joshua is more explosive, more talented, much faster. But can Joshua hurt Jarrell Miller? That's what I would like to see. I think it's a really hell of a good prize fight at heavyweight division. And it's a possibility Joshua could fight Jarrell Miller he could be the opponent that he decides to come over for to try to raise his profile in America. And it'll be a hell of a fight. Miller will put pressure. He'll try to wear Joshua down, and it's very possible Miller could wear Joshua down, since Miller has a better gas tank compared to Joshua. And if he could take Joshua's punches, which is the question. I never seen Miller get hurt in the prize fight. He hasn't exactly fought devastating punchers. He's fought some solid punchers. Most heavyweights have power, but he hasn't fought the type of physicality, power that Joshua brings. It'll be interesting to see if Miller could take Joshua's punches. And Miller will get hit in that fight, but maybe Miller can weather the storm. Maybe he could wear Joshua down and make him deplete his gas tank in the middle rounds, which is how Miller wins his fights. He walks you down, puts pressure, wears you out, and stops you with accumulation of punishment. He's done it in his last couple of fights. And I'm up for that fight if Joshua can't get Parker to come to the table. Looks like that fight is having difficulty of getting made. Be a decent fight. Be a good opponent for Joshua. And I think Miller will be a live dog. Be a dangerous fight for Joshua because Miller is big, strong, can take a punch. And he could outlast Anthony Joshua if he can weather the storm early, which is when Joshua's fresh, the first 3-4 rounds. It'll be interesting to see if Miller can take his power. With Wilder, I mean, Wilder has a right hand, but who is he actually knocked out? That's really all that impressive. Would he have been able to knock out Klitschko? Would he have been able to knock out Ortiz? Would he have been able to knock out Povetkin? We'll never know. He hasn't fought those guys. But Joshua could crush Deontay Wilder because he's so much bigger, much stronger. And his chin is not the greatest, but it's not as bad as Wilder's. He can take some punishment. But I actually think Miller's a bigger threat to Joshua. I think he has a better chin than Wilder. Could wear him down if he doesn't get hurt. But his performance against Wach, it wasn't bad. I mean, he took some shots, showed he has a good chin, lost the first round and then adjusted, started moving his head, started throwing more punches, started using his jab. I thought it wasn't a bad performance. He whooped Wach's ass, submitted him, made him quit because of the injury he had. But the thing is, I wouldn't pick too many heavyweights to beat Jarrell Miller. Not many heavyweights I would pick to beat Jarrell Miller, which is why Deontay Wilder hasn't really been in a rush to fight him. Miller's been calling him out. I don't think he's rated by WBC. Not really sure. But he's already being considered as a potential Joshua opponent, and Wilder wants nothing to do with Jarrell Miller. This is what I'm explaining to you guys. Joshua is willing to fight real opponents, while Wilder's team have already expressed interest that they don't want to fight anybody real. They have no interest in a Dillian Whyte fight. Wilder wanted no parts of Jarrell Miller. And Jarrell Miller he's going to be in serious consideration to be Joshua's next opponent if he can't get a Parker unification to get over the line. Let's look at WBC rankings. No, Miller's not rated for some reason. It's funny. They have Tony Bellew rated, but not Jarrell Miller, who's rated by WBO, rated by the IBF for the top 5. And I believe that fight against Wach was an eliminator for the IBF, so Miller's most likely going to be bumped up to perhaps be the next mandatory. He'll be highly rated by the IBF, so he'll be in position to fight Joshua sooner or later. So let me know what you guys think about Miller's performance. Do you think he's a bigger threat to Joshua's throne compared to Wilder? Is this the guy really America should be getting behind, since he's a lot more funnier, has a bigger personality, he's bigger, stronger, and I actually think he's a better fighter? And why is it about Wilder wants no part of him? I would like to see Miller get a shot at Wilder as well. I actually think Miller would beat the crap out of Wilder. Be interesting to see if Wilder can hurt a big man like that, who can fight, who will bring pressure, who will bring a lot of activity. That'll be Wilder's most real opponent to date if he was to fight Jarrell Miller. But don't count Jarrell Miller out, man. He's a worthy contender. Not many heavyweights I would pick to beat him. This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.